Welcome to Daily Office Basics, a 5-part video series on praying the daily office. I'm Deacon Rodger Patience from St. Thomas Episcopal Church in the Diocese of Fond du Lac. I write reflections on praying the office at dailyofficeanchorsociety.com. I'm grateful to Grace Abounds, the online ministry of Grace Episcopal Church in Sheboygan, for hosting this series. Over the course of the 5 installments of this series, we will look first at the origins of daily prayer in the Christian church. We'll then take a moment to help you find your place in the prayer book and in the Bible so that you feel more comfortable beginning to pray the office. And then we'll look at each of the 3 parts of the daily office in turn. Each of the prayer services in the daily office includes psalms, lessons and canticles, and prayers, and we'll look at each of these 3 sections in turn. Again, welcome to Daily Office Basics. I'm glad you're here. Let's begin. Beginning to pray the office can feel a little bit confusing at first, especially if you're trying to juggle the Book of Common Prayer and the Bible to find your place in the lectionary and feel confident that you've picked the right lesson that you're supposed to read. In this video, we want to help demystify some of those options that are available to you to help you find your place so that beginning to pray the office is easier and more comfortable for you. So let's sit down together with the books in hand, and we'll take a look at the places you need to mark so that you will feel more comfortable as you begin to pray the office. Saying the daily office is relatively simple, but it's not necessarily self-explanatory. So in this part of our video series, we'll help you find your place. All you really need to say the daily office is a Book of Common Prayer and a Bible. Any Bible is fine, whatever Bible you might have around the house or whatever translation you feel most comfortable reading is completely fine. If you don't have a Book of Common Prayer, if you're an Episcopalian, you can go to your parish priest and ask them to loan you a copy. I'm sure they'd be delighted to do so. Or you can order the Book of Common Prayer online at Amazon.com or at Church Publishing. There'll be a link that we share so that you can go quickly to do that. You'll find it easier to pray the office, though, if you mark your books ahead of time. And so we're going to turn our focus now to the books themselves and to the pages that you'll need to mark in order to smoothly and easily move through the daily office. First, you'll want to start with bookmarks for the Daily Office Lectionary. And the bookmarks that I'm going to use as I show you what we're doing here are printed out and available to you as a PDF document. There'll be a link that you can follow to get these very bookmarks yourself. So you want to start by bookmarking the Daily Office Lectionary. And that begins in the Book of Common Prayer on page 934. So if you turn towards the back of the prayer book to page 934 or so, because we're recording these lessons just before the beginning of Lent, I'm actually going to have you turn a few pages into the lectionary to start, and you'll start by marking the page 953. So put your first bookmark there in page 953. You'll then want to place a bookmark for the Psalms and the readings from the Bible that are appointed there on page 953 in the lectionary. So as we look at the lectionary, you'll see the week after the first Sunday of Lent. Let's assume that it's Monday, and we'll use that as our reference point. So on Monday, the Psalms that are appointed are Psalms 41 and 52 in the morning, and Psalm 44 in the evening. We'll talk more about those in the next part of our series. And then the scripture readings you'll see are listed there too. The reading from Genesis 37, from 1 Corinthians 1, and from Mark 1. So you'll mark the Daily Office Lectionary with a bookmark, and then you'll turn in your Bible to mark the passages from the Old and New Testament that are listed there. So in your Bible, turn to Genesis 37 and use the bookmark that's labeled Old Testament to mark that page. Then turn towards the very back of the Bible for the first letter to the Corinthians. So you can mark your Bible with the bookmark that's called Epistle. Epistle is the Greek word for a lesson or a letter, so epistle. And then the Gospels are a little bit earlier in the New Testament than the letters, and so you can mark the beginning of the Gospel of Mark, Mark 1, with the bookmark labeled Gospel. So now your Bible is marked, and you'll have several other bookmarks that you want to place in the prayer book itself. So we've begun with the lectionary and marked our Bible. And then you'll want to place bookmarks in several places within the Bible. You want to first bookmark the beginning of daily morning prayer. So that's on page 75 in the prayer book. And then you might want to place a bookmark at the beginning of evening prayer. That is page 115 in the prayer book. And there's a bookmark ready for you there too. You might want to place a bookmark at page 144, which outlines the canticles that you are going to read in between the lessons at morning and evening prayer. And we'll talk more about that in the video section on lessons and canticles. Place another bookmark at page 211 or following for the collects. A collect is a very particular kind of prayer that sort of collects the themes of a particular service or a particular Sunday. And so beginning at page 211 are the collects that are appointed for the various Sundays of the church year. And again, because we're going to pretend that we're at the beginning of Lent, just as our reference point, we'll look for the collect appointed for the first Sunday in Lent. And you can use your bookmark for the collects at that page. That happens to be page 218 in the prayer book. And then in the very back of the prayer book, we actually print all of the Psalms as well as the Psalms are printed in your Bible. But they're in the prayer book just for convenience because you read so many Psalms every day in the daily office. So if you'll remember, in the lectionary, which we've already marked, the Psalms that were appointed for morning prayer on this Monday after the first week in Lent were Psalms 41 and 52. So in the back of the prayer book, you can find Psalm 41 here on page 641. So take your Psalms bookmark and place it in page 641. And then the last bookmark that we've made for you is for a section of the prayer book that contains some additional prayers and thanksgivings. You may find at various times in your life or on various occasions that you'd like to offer a prayer, and there's a whole section at the back of the prayer book of resources for you in that regard. So marking your prayer book and your Bible is the first step to begin getting ready for praying the office. Now I'll give you one more set of bookmarks. I've actually found it very helpful to create a pair of bookmarks and stick them in at specific pages in morning prayer and evening prayer. So the first is a bookmark that reminds you what canticles you want to say in between the lessons. I'll tell you more about why you're doing that in just a minute. But I have found it helpful over the years to put that in at page 84, pages 84 and 85 in the prayer book. And similarly, to do the same thing in evening prayer, just as a reminder what canticles to say in between the lessons at evening prayer, and to stick that into the prayer book at page 118. And we'll see how those come into play in just a few minutes when we continue with the next section of our video. So for now, you'll find a document that has the bookmarks for all of the sections of the prayer book and the Bible, and those two tables of canticles that I just showed you. Those documents will be available to you as PDF files that you can download and cut apart yourself into bookmarks. You'll also find a document called Praying the Daily Offices that runs through those same page numbers and helps you remember what I just told you. But for now, you have found your place, and we'll be ready to begin, and that's how we will turn our attention to the next section. Now that we have found our place and marked our Book of Common Prayer and our Bible, we're ready to begin. And in the next 3 parts of our series, we'll look at the Daily Office, which has a sort of 3-part structure. We'll look first at the Psalms, then at the lessons and canticles, and then at the prayers. So each section will build on the others that have come before it. But here we found our place, and we're ready to begin. Thanks for joining us for Daily Office Basics.
God chose Israel, remembering mercy, according to the promise to those he made before, to Sarah, to Abraham, to Hagar, to their children's children, evermore.